One.
We've got ourselves a yearly tradition here at the 10-8 round where once a year I like to interrupt my vacation for the fans and we like to drop a podcast. So for the second year in a row, joining you fireside from New Hampshire, I am Zach of formerly Filthy Philadelphia, joined by the Dodgers-clad John Boy down there in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. John Boy, what's up?
I knew I recognized that fireplace.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
I've seen it. I'm getting flashbacks. Looks good. How's your vacation treating you?
Listen, I can't complain. There's snow on the ground. There's a fireside lit. You know, what else does a man want? You know, the flannel is clad. The snow is still here. I'm doing my best, John Boy. I'm just doing my best, you know?
Good. Looks like you're thriving. I'm glad to see it.
That's it. We thrive. We survive. The 10-8 comes and joins us for another day. Took a little week off, recharged the batteries, handled a little business. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. We're back. We took a little brief hiatus last week. We had some life get in the way, but we felt the love and the outpour from the fans that missed us.
Did.
And it meant the world to us. So we're back right now, and we got a fight this weekend, I believe.
I believe there's a rumor going around. There's fights this weekend, you know, and so the fans know. Listen, we ain't going anywhere. Not until we reach the top. They gave Ariel Helwani his own basketball showtime today. So I have to imagine our big break is around the corner because if fucking Helwani can do it.
Who gave him that show?
And Showtime gave it to him.
Yeah, but that's Showtime. They gave Schaub a show. They're just trying everything out at this point.
I guess. I heard a rumor Schaub's co-host got arrested.
Which one?
To say that I could name any of Brendan Schaub's co-hosts we're already off the rails.
Yeah, that's true. I know he does King this thing with Theo Vaughn. I hope it's not Theo.
It wasn't Theo Vaughn. It was some other random guy. I don't know if he got arrested or if he was just, got videotaped being a dickhead. I don't really know the details. I catch Twitter where I can on vacation, but it's a little bit sporadic. But look, if Brendan Schaub can do it, if Ariel Helwani can have his own basketball show, our break has got to be around the corner. Thanks, one, to our tenacity, and two, to the great fans that make the 10-8 most electric podcast in mixed martial arts.
Guess where I was Saturday night?
Tell me where you are.
Sorry. Sunday night.
Sunday night. I was going to guess Saturday. So tell me where you were Sunday.
Wait. Monday night.
Monday night.
This is where I'm at, baby. I was at Miller's Ale House.
Yeah, because we're brand loyal motherfuckers, and that's how we fucking do it.
Delicious. Had a hell of a meal.
What'd you have? Tell me what you had.
I had this was chosen by the girl in attendance with me.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely girlfriend.
Okay.
She decided on the steak skewers for me.
Okay.
And they hit.
That's a man's meal at Miller's right there.
Man's meal, and then I had the fried jalapenos as my appetizer.
Yeah, you did.
Still recovering. Yeah. Bathroom is also still recovering. But we're out here.
Love it. Love that. Did you happen to catch any of the fights last weekend?
So I was working, but luckily I got to pull over at the local bar by my house as soon as Kamaru Usman stepped in the ring to fight Leon Edwards. So I got to watch the full 25 minutes of that. I heard bits and pieces. Obviously, I was following along on my phone as the night progressed. But I think we do this thing about takeaways. What do you got for me? Did you watch the fights?
I watched the fights. Soup to nuts, watched the fights, caught everything.
Any takeaways?
First takeaway has got to be that Justin Gaethje got that dog in him. It's just got to be that. That man's got that dog in him. And to give credit, so does Rafael Fiziev. That was a banger. Have you caught the replay on that one yet?
I have not.
You're in for a treat. That was truly, one of the better fights I've seen this year. Both of those guys understood the assignment. They both stepped in there. They both cracked. Honestly, it looked like it was like back and forth most of the fight. But it was a banger. It was a true banger. So you're in for a treat when you catch that one.
Isn't this not a common theme though with Justin Gaethje now, right? Every single fight unfolds like this.
I mean, the man's just never in a boring fight.
Like, are we surprised?
He's got to be. I have to imagine that Rafael Fiziev is part T1000 Terminator, because the man just does not stop coming forward. Just doesn't stop.
Great stylistic matchup. I can imagine it went along the lines of a prior Dustin Gaethje fight. I know he didn't do a pod last week, but Fiziev was a decently sized favorite in that fight as well. So hats off to Justin Gaethje. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to flirt around the division at 155 pounds for a while. I could see him and Poirier running it back again. Could see him and Chandler running it back again.
Yeah, I could see all of that. I mean, Gaethje says though, this is kind of the end of the line for him. If it really doesn't happen here, he says he's not going to be around forever, understandably so. So I hope something cracks off for Gaethje this time. I know he's chasing that belt. I know he wants that strap. But yeah, I mean, just it was vintage Gaethje, where it was just an absolute banger. So you talk to me. Go ahead. You want to talk main event? I mean, what's the takeaway from the main event? I have a takeaway, but what's your takeaway from the main event, having seen it?
I have multiple things to take from it, right? Leon Edwards was a completely different fighter than he was in the first fight. That was evident. You could see that he made leaps and bounds of changes. He looked really good. I leaned toward a draw. I understand it being in England with him having the belt. You got to beat the champ to be the champ. I thought it was closer with the point that was taken away in the third round. I don't like how it's becoming a common theme for guys to lose position, refs take a point, and then not give the guy's position back. We saw that literally last week, and it caused the guy to get knocked out. It was Rafael Assunção in the Davy Grant fight. I don't know who's kind of making that call off the cuff, but that needs to stop. I thought it was a really good fight. I thought it showed a lot for Leon Edwards, and maybe, just maybe, this is the end for Kamaru Usman. Is that a hot take?
I don't know that it's a hot take. I'll say this first and foremost. I completely agree. I don't know. The way the announcers explained it was that the position was not given back to Kamaru because the point was taken. But at the end of the day, knowing Kamaru's fighting style and knowing how much guys get finished on the ground with someone on their back, how can you call that justified, or how can you call that a justified trade, or even a justified penalty, especially with a guy like Leon Edwards, who in their last meeting, headshot, bang, dead, kicked Kamaru upside his head and finished the fight that way. Imagine if Edwards had turned around, kicked Kamaru in the head, and then that was the end of the fight. Yeah. We'd all be talking about that right now. Like, what the fuck happened?
Literally exactly what happened in the Davy Grant, Rafael Assunção fight. The exact thing happened.
And Assunção retired on that fight. Assunção got robbed and retired off of it. So his fight got ruined by that decision. Yeah. I think it's an absolutely terrible precedent to set, knowing that in the sport of mixed martial arts, and this is why we like this sport, this is why we watch the sport, the fight can get finished anywhere. You can finish it on the feet, you can finish it with submissions, you can finish it with ground and pound. You're going to take a guy who has a dominant ground position, and because his opponent cheated, they're both sacrificing the position now. To me, absolutely ridiculous, bad precedent. I'm with you. I scored it as a draw. I thought that Usman took round 3, and it would have been a 10-8 round because of the point deduction. And I thought Usman took 4. I thought 2 could have gone either way, but I had it for Edwards. So it's 1-2-5 Edwards on a 10-9, a 10-8, and a 10-9 Usman. That's a draw to me. That being said, I'm not mad at the Edwards decision. I think it was a justified decision. And I think we're seeing Leon Edwards really kind of crack his code for MMA, right? He's a kickboxer. He's a longtime kickboxer. He's got that point style, kickboxer style. And that's really what he did here over the course of 5 rounds, was he just death by 1,000 paper cuts on Usman, just kept point fighting, and got himself a decision. And I got to tell you, I'm looking around right now. I don't know who's going to be able to break that formula that Leon Edwards has kind of latched onto here. Now that he's sort of perfected the recipe for Coke here, I don't know who's going to beat it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say he did fight a point style fight type matchup where he stayed at range, but he was landing some big shots on Usman. I was surprised with Usman's durability. It's good to know that his chin's held up after the brutal KO. I was kind of surprised some of the clean shots that Leon landed. Usman landed some big shots. It was a great fight. Great fight. And I guess it boils down to now Colby Covington.
Well, and that's what's kicking around here. And we're freestyling this pod a little bit. This would usually be saved for our news section. But we're freestyling this one a little bit. Edwards says he's not fighting Covington.
I don't understand how you can make that call as a champion. That's the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life. That's ridiculous. But I think Kobe deserves it. I actually do want to see that fight. I think there are a lot of fights at 170 that still have to be decided. I saw Bilal Muhammad, Shavkat Rakhmonov pretty much got the green light from Dana White. So I think Colby Leon makes a lot of sense. I think Shavkat Bilal Muhammad makes a lot of sense. And if Usman does decide to stick around, I think him and Khamzat Chimaev makes a lot of sense.
I like that. I like the way it lays down. You know, I think Edwards' point is, that Colby's been inactive for quite a while. But I think the other end of that point is, what was Colby Covington going to do? You're involved in 2 championship bouts, 2 wars. One is a decision, one is a finish. Both are close. What are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do? You're going to go out there and fight Jorge Masvidal?
Yeah.
Maybe get caught with a 2-piece and a soda and drop down the rankings exponentially?
Well, he did fight. He did fight Jorge and beat his ass.
Well, exactly. But that's the point, right? I mean, there's you hang around in 170 with these big boy killers. Someone's going to catch you eventually. What was he going to do? Ask for Shavkat Rakhmonov? Get his fucking head ripped off?
No.
And then, plummet down the rankings? This is an odd moment, and mark the date and time. I kind of sympathize with Colby Covington's position.
Wow.
What was he going to do?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you, right? I mean, they're just the bookings are already writing themselves, right? Masvidal has Burns in Miami in April. All of the guys at 170 that would make sense for him to fight already have matchups. So I think Kobe's the biggest sell at 170 pounds too. I think it's the biggest money fight for Leon. Now that he's the champion, he's going to get those pay-per-view points. He should be, I don't know if he's just playing this role about how he's going to not fight Kobe, but he should be begging to fight Kobe, because I think Kobe's a bigger fight than Usman 2 was, in my opinion.
I think so. And I think Colby's going to make it a bigger fight, right? He's going to
exactly
his mouth. He's going to sell the fight. He is, first of all, he's the new cringe king, by the way. Buck Henry Cejudo. It is Colby Covington. That interview he did with Megan O'Leary after the pay-per-view last Saturday was the absolute cringiest thing I've ever seen. I don't know who's writing this guy's promo for him, but I think they need to bring in the experts from the WWE. This guy couldn't cut a promo to save his fucking life. It was cringe as fuck. But that cringe, that level of annoyance, he's just going to needle Edwards into a pissy, petty battle, and it's going to sell the fights. And I'll tell you, I know what Edwards is doing. I know exactly what Leon Edwards is doing. Leon Edwards is trying to float out the idea of Jorge Masvidal.
I don't think Masvidal beats Burns.
I don't think so either.
So I think that's a shitty thing to float. But you're right. I mean, that it's stylistically speaking. Hear me out, Zach.
I'm listening.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Leon Edwards.
I'm gonna say it right now. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is the 170 pound champ.
I'm just saying, right? We always talk about this stylistic matchup thing. if there's anybody who's happy this Saturday, it was Wonder Boy Thompson. He needs one more somewhat credible win. And if Leon Edwards can hang in there and defend the title at least once, he's another guy who could crack into the top 170 because he's just got that style where anybody on the feet is going to be, it's not going to be a cakewalk against Wonder Boy. And I think Edwards has an enticing style for that. I think that's a fun matchup.
I love living in a world where there is a possibility of Stephen Thompson taking the 170 pound title. I love that world.
Well, it's exciting. It's exciting.
It is. It is. And Wonder Boy was, and always will be a fan favorite. Another guy that's going to fight for your money. I think at the end of the day, bottom line, and I didn't answer your initial question, I don't think Usman is done. I think he'll work his way back up. He's got that dogged wrestler style. He'll get back to the lab. He'll tweak a few things, and I think he'll work his way back up, probably to a title shot eventually. Here's the problem. I think by the time Usman is in line again for the title, that belt is going to be around Shavkat Rakhmonov's waist, and I think it's going to stay there for a while. I think he's going to hold that belt for quite a spell. Unless Hamzat can come down and take it from him, I think that's your next champion is Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Shavkat's going to be the 170-pound champion at the end of the calendar year, for sure. That would be my bet. I actually think this might be a good thing for Usman. I think that this is going to give him some enticing matchups at 170. We just talked about how exciting it can be. He can drop down, fight Bilal Muhammad, fight maybe Hamzat, maybe win over some fans and those type of wars. We've seen guys do it before. Yeah, no, it's interesting, man. It's exciting how 170 pounds is going to round out. But we have any more takeaways from the card that we missed last week?
Jack Shore, incredible for submission performance. Looks like he's settling into the new weight class well.
Yeah.
Send a shout out and a get well soon to our homegirl Casey O'Neill, King Casey. Took a tough loss. They happen. It is what it is. It looked like she got kind of stuck in a battle where she couldn't quite secure the takedown, couldn't quite get to the ground, I think, the way she wanted to. And I think she just got pointed to death. She's coming off of a long layoff from an ACL injury. So I predict King Casey will be back better than ever. See if I jotted down any other takeaways. Vittori Dolidze was a pretty good fight. Roman Dolidze is just a fucking bully in there.
He lost though, right? Vittori won.
He did lose. I thought Dolidze might have done enough to take it, but it was a weird one to score because on one hand, for once in his life, Marvin Vittori looked like the more technically sound fighter in the cage. Compared to Roman Dolidze. But I thought Dolidze just spent 3 rounds walking him down, eating whatever he threw and throwing him back on his own. I thought Dolidze might have taken it. It is what it is. I don't know that 185 pounds, either of those guys is really going to threaten, Alex, Poatan, obviously Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker, right? So there's your 1, 2, 3. And I don't think either of these guys is going to unseat any of those 3. The only other takeaway I have, John Boy, is kind of, a feel-good moment here for at least for me. How about the boy, Gunny Nelson, coming back with a slick armbar victory over Brian Barberena? Beautiful.
Yeah. Great matchup for him, right?
Yeah, it's really great matchup.
You put him in London against a guy who's notoriously really bad on the ground. And those things do tend to happen. It was a great matchup for Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson's a tough fighter, though. Gunnar Nelson's a good guy at 170 pounds where you can throw him in there and he's going to give anybody a tough outing. Yeah. He had like razor thin fight with Leon Edwards.
Yes,
I don't know if you remember that. Leon Edwards won the first round. Second round was close. And then Gunnar Nelson was on top of him for 4.5 minutes to end the third round. So he's one of those guys too at 170. You could kind of plug and play and insert in there just to test some guys. That would be interesting. Yeah, good for Gunnar Nelson. Glad to see him back. He's nice on the ground, man. His submission game is no joke.
You know what I'm noticing right now at 170 we're starting to tread into 185 territory where it's almost an embarrassment of riches, right? Where it's like, it's not just that you've got great fighters at 170 right now. It's that the guys who are coming up in the top 10 are all so well rounded. They
Yeah.
all have so much to bring to the table, right? You look at, Hamzat, Shavkat Rakhmonov, even Usman, Covington, Leon Edwards. Edwards, obviously his takedown defense has come leaps and bounds when he's not grabbing the cage, but all of these guys are wrestlers, grapplers with incredible striking credentials. I mean, you're talking about just high caliber MMA at 170 right now, which is a great thing to say.
Yeah, you're right. So many guys that embody it too. It's going to be interesting how that all plays out. Dude, I would not be opposed to like a Bellator tournament, right? Where you just seed the guys up, you set up a bracket. Like we're in March, right? It's March Madness. No better time to set up a bracket. Get your best, what, 6? Or should we do more? We should do 8. You give me your 8 best welterweights and then set up a bracket, and you can have it play out in the same night. All the first rounds of the bracket, you could do it all in the same card. 170 is that deep right now where it could get really exciting. So
and I love a Grand Prix. I've said that before. I'll say it again. I think it's so exciting. It leads to a lot of interest. I think it's an absolutely stellar idea. Once again, Sean Shelby, Mick, phone's dry, guys.
I can just see it now. I just feel like they could perfect it, right? Like Bellator just didn't do it right. The UFC could really nail it. You could have betting odds for guys to win the tournament. You could have season-long odds pressed into a year-long space. I can see it now. It would add a little bit of, a little wrinkle into the game. Come on, UFC.
Yeah, seriously, guys.
Somebody send this to the UFC and Mick Maynard right now.
Yeah, one of our fans, tell the UFC, the boys at the 10-8 round cracked the code once again. Once again, we've cracked the code. We don't get paid enough for this shit. I heard a rumor there's fights this weekend. True or false?
I think that's what the people are saying.
Ooh,
I think that's what the people are saying. And we're gonna go to the maybe arguably a more exciting division than 170.
Arguably, yeah.
Best division in the UFC right now?
It's, you know what? It's entirely possible. How about that? I'm going to say it's entirely possible.
Yeah, man. We got a fun one. Really fun one at 135 pounds.
We do. We got the big homie Cheeto Vera taking on the stalwart Corey Sandhagen.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like it a lot. Who do you think the favorite is here? Start off with that.
I'm going to say the favorite is Cheeto.
It's Sandhagen.
Is it really?
Minus 165. Pretty decent size favorite.
Yeah, that's pretty not bad. Okay. All right.
Decent size favorite. Over 4.5 is minus 150. So Vegas thinks this one's going to go the distance. You got any initial takes here? Well, you already kind of gave away your initial take, right? You think Vera's the rightful favorite here.
So I thought Cheeto would be the favorite. I did. That being said, you look at the resume of Corey Sandhagen and look at those 4 losses, right? And it's just, it's murderer's row that this guy has fought. He's been in some absolute wars. He is tough as they come. He has his most recent victory is over Yadong Song, who I believe beat Cheeto Vera. So
he beat Cheeto Vera, but it was a very, very horrible, atrocious split decision. Cheeto Vera won the fight, but
not a UD.
What's up?
Not a UD. I thought it was a unanimous decision.
If it was UD or if it was split, it was the wrong decision.
Fair enough. So, I think these guys stack up pretty evenly. I'm leaning Cheeto. I will not be surprised if it's Sandhagen.
I'm going to be honest with you. I agree with you here. I actually think Vera should be the favorite as well. I'm going to lean with Vera here at plus money. I think there's value in him being an underdog. I think they're both kind of built for 5 rounds. They're
Yeah.
both extremely durable guys. I just think the one thing that we saw in the Peter Yan Corey Sandhagen fight was Sandhagen has volume, but he doesn't have as much pop. He doesn't hit as hard as some of those guys at 135 pounds. And I just think Vera has a little bit more on his punches. And
Yeah.
over the course of 5 rounds, the judges are going to lean with the power and the violence, right? We saw him get doubled or tripled on a punch count against Rob Font, but all he needed to land was 3 or 4 shots, and they were the biggest shots of the fight.
Yeah.
So I think over the course of 5 rounds, you're not going to be able to get Vera out of there, and eventually the power is gonna add up. And in the eyes of the judges, Vera's going to get a decision. I think it's going to be a war. But I'm going to side with Cheeto here. I do. I think Merab Dvalishvili is the best fighter at 135 pounds in the world, and I think he probably beats everybody in the division. But the one guy who I could see him giving problems to is Marlon Vera. Vera just cracks. He hits really hard for 135.
He's tough as nails. He's not afraid of the dog fight. I mean, that fight with Rob Font was an absolute war. It was a war of attrition. And I mean, the volume that Font puts out, I don't know many guys at 135 who would have withstood that barrage successfully.
Yeah. Similar to Sandhagen. Him and Font have a kind of a similar style where it's just like pressure and continuously throwing strikes. Font and him are probably evenly matched from a power perspective.
Agreed.
But yeah, man, I am surprised as well that Sandhagen is a favorite, and that big of a favorite as well. It's a juicy little line there for Cheeto Vera.
As our numbers guy, are you saying that there's some value in Vera here?
A ton of value. I think Vera's the play for me here.
I like it. Yeah.
I really do. I like Vera. I'm gonna lean Vera here 100%. That's my official pick.
Yeah, Cheeto in the cage is the same dude as Cheeto out of the cage. This is a guy who just does not shy away from a war. He's not scared of your pressure. He's not scared of your punches because he's sending them right back. You know, the more we talk about it, the more I'm leaning Cheeto.
Yeah. I like Cheeto here. It's a shame because I love Corey Sandhagen. I thought he beat TJ Dillashaw. He got an L there. I thought he won that fight and should have been the interim guy who ended up fighting Aljamain Sterling. I think he got a shitty shake. But that's just sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles, Zach.
That's the way it goes, John boy. You ain't said nothing but a word on that one.
Yep.
We get to our co-main. We talk about the preacher's daughter.
We have to.
It is the co-main. I feel like we should at least acknowledge that it exists. Holly Holm taking on Yana Santos.
Formerly known as Yana Kunitskaya.
True.
Last name changed. She married Tiago Santos, the murderer with Thor's hammer tattooed on his chest.
Now PFL standout, correct?
What's up?
Now PFL standout, correct?
Well, soon to be.
Soon to be PFL standout, Tiago Santos.
Yeah, I actually saw him at a Walmart down here a couple years back. Him and Yana.
Was he a nice guy?
It was during COVID, so everybody was like masked up. It was one of those like, you know, where it was like, do I go up and say hello? That type of thing. So I wasn't very pressy, but I did acknowledge him and he did acknowledge me back. He seemed pretty cool for being like a cold blood killer.
Sure. An absolute murderer that he is.
Yep.
This is I don't know. I guess I'm supposed to pick a favorite.
Yeah, we can start there.
I'm going to go with the preacher's daughter. I'm going to pick Holly Holm as the favorite.
You would be correct. She's minus 240. Yana Santos plus 200. Little 2-to-1 dog action.
Yeah.
Both of these guys actually trained at Jackson Wink MMA. That's where they both trained. They were really the female talent that started there. Yana Kunitskaya was actually Holly Holm's main training partner for like the majority of her fights later on in her career. I think Holly Holm's a rightful favorite here. I think she's just the better version of Yana Santos. She is getting up there in age. I believe she's 42 now.
41.
41. So she's getting up there. But she keeps herself in damn good shape. She's a very technical kickboxer. She should be a little bit better everywhere here. And I like Holly Holm at minus 240.
Yeah, Holly Holm, of course, once women's champion, having unseated the previously undefeated Ronda Rousey. I one off the bat, I agree. Holm should get it done here. But we're starting to get to the question of what if Holly Holm gets it done on Saturday night. Where to next?
Yeah, right. It's one of those weird things when you have a girl who's so dominant for so long in Amanda Nunes. Like we were kind of having that with Usman. We were going to start to get to that level where it's like just, who's next? We're just going to keep recycling all these guys in the division or girls in the division. But you're right? Like, what does she do? This fight is at 135 or 145 pounds? Probably 135.
I believe it's at 135.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. She goes up and fights another contender at 135 pounds. I'm not sure.
I guess, right? I guess. I mean, Holly Holm, other than her loss to Amanda Nunes, has really never suffered a bad loss.
No.
I mean, she lost a split to Caitlin Vieira, her last fight. But other than that, I mean, all decisions except for the RNC locked in by Miesha Tate, which was a Hail Mary in a fight that Tate was, I thought, pretty handily losing.
That was ridiculous. That was massive upset after massive upset at 135 pounds.
Truly just a strength of will and determination there. But yeah, I don't know what is next for Holly Holm. Is she a title contender? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's like, do you match her up with like a Jessica Pena type thing? Right? Like that would be the only girl that comes to mind who you would fight. Does she rematch Ketlin Vieira? I thought the Vieira fight was a flip of a coin.
Yeah, I did too.
Super tough fight. But like you said, like she hasn't lost to anybody except for the cream of the crop at 155, right? She's kind of like a gatekeeper collecting a paycheck at this point.
Yeah.
She has a ton of name value. They still sponsor her. I mean, she's the co-main event. I actually think this is a pretty good bet too. I actually really like her as long as she's healthy coming into this fight. I know she's going to be motivated. I don't see where she loses this fight, but I don't know what's next for her, Zach. And I don't know if I really care that much. Is that bad to say?
I wouldn't say it's bad to say. I mean, if Holly's listening, I hope she doesn't take it poorly.
But like, you're right though. Like, where do we go from here? Do you think she challenges for another belt again in her career? Maybe,
but when? Look, what's the one fight that all your favorite fighters are going to lose, right? They're going to lose the battle with time. I can't imagine that Holly Holm wants to be 43, 44 years old fighting for the belt, right? Those are Randy Couture numbers that she's putting up there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough one.
I would say interesting, but I don't even know. It's just weird. Weird.
It is weird. It's
a weird one, Zach.
It is. It's just a weird one, I mean, look, there are some fighters who will just never make it, right? Most of the fighters who enter the UFC will never hold a title. I mean, most of them will never even get talked about on the 10-8 round podcast. But, then you have somebody like Holly Holm, who was so dominant for so long, is still, a tough customer in her division, was once the Ring Magazine, I think, Fighter of the Year in boxing. But I close my eyes. I can't vision Holly Holm with the belt again. I can't see it.
Yeah. No, I don't either. I really don't.
I guess she's just, she's, as long as she wants to be, I guess she will just be kind of that gatekeeper to the top.
Yeah, it sure looks like it.
She will guide others to a treasure she cannot possess.
Wow, it's an interesting character path to take, but yeah.
Yeah,
sometimes it's your time to lead, I guess, right?
Guess so. Do you want to talk about the next fight?
I do.
Talk about Nate Landwehr versus Austin Lingo?
Yeah, this is a fun one.
Okay.
This is a fun one. Both of these guys are going to bring it. They're going to bring it for 15 minutes.
Sure.
They're going to get after it for sure. Who do you think the favorite is here?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Nate Landwehr has lost a fight to Herbert Burns, and for that reason, I cannot believe he's the favorite.
He is the favorite.
Yeah, I had a feeling he was going to be, but I just couldn't bring myself to say it.
That was a nasty kick from Herbert Jones in that fight. Or Herbert Burns, sorry. Herbert Burns. Nasty.
Yeah.
That is Gilbert Burns' little brother, Herbert Burns.
Who I'm not sure is still in the UFC after being cardio tapped by Bill Algeo.
You gave him a lot of shit for that injury.
I mean, I just, he just very clearly quit during the fight. He cardio tapped, which is something that happens in beginners jiu-jitsu classes all across the country every day. The new guy just cannot believe the pace that jiu-jitsu runs at, and he just, I can't. Please stop before I hyperventilate.
Yeah, he tried to cinch in a choke and just burnt his arms out and then just absolutely shit the bed.
Perfecto was running that jiu-jitsu gas tank, Herbert Burns was not.
Yeah, and Bill Algeo is the absolute worst guy to get into a cardio war with too. Yeah, if you don't get that submission, it's going to be a long night. But yeah, Nate Landwehr is the favorite here, minus 230 against Austin Lingo, plus 190. Nate Landwehr is the type of guy you want to back when he's like plus 230, when he's the underdog and you're like, oh, this guy's tough, he can fight. But anytime he's minus 230, you're like, I don't know if I want to, get behind a guy like that, giving that much. I'm going to side with him here. I don't think Austin Lingo's that impressive, but I don't love this fight for Nate Landwehr at such a big number.
Yeah, I looked at this one and I really was unsure who to back. Nate is one of those guys. He'll put together two tough victories. He'll grit them out, and then he'll take a loss, and you'll be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I was just starting to believe.
Exactly. That's why you just can't get behind a minus 230 price tag.
Yeah, and Austin Lingo has 3 fights in the UFC and seems to be on the Nate Landwehr track, where he lost his debut, and then he won 2 UDs, one over Jacob Kilburn. Yeah, exactly.
Not great. Who did he lose to? Who was his first fight? I remember it.
Yusuf Zalal.
And he was a huge favorite going into that fight too, by the way.
Yes.
Massive favorite. And Yusuf Zalal ended up wrestle fucking him for 3 rounds. But
yeah. And then he beat Jacob Kilburn and Luis Saldana.
Oh, he beat Luis Saldana. Luis Saldana is no longer in the UFC. Yeah, Austin Lingo's not very good. He really is not. Nate Landwehr pushes a really incredible pace. He's not super technical, not super sharp, but he's not going to quit. He's relatively durable, minus that one Herbert Jones perfectly placed front toe kick to the dome. I like Nate Landwehr here. I'm going to side with Nate Landwehr, but I'm not running to the window to bet it.
Well, and that's it, right? The more I find myself siding with Nate Landwehr, the more I feel confident that Austin Lingo is going to win this fight.
Yeah.
That's the position I find myself in.
Yeah. It's Nate Landwehr's fight to lose.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't surprise me if he somehow found a way to do.
True. You want to talk Andrea Lee, Macy Barber?
Definitely.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
This is a good fight. I don't want to say if it's a good fight. It's a tough fight for Macy Barber, somebody who I think we were both at one point in time a little bit high on.
Yeah.
The loss to Roxanne Metaferri kind of put a dent in that, but she did blow out her ACL and MCL in that fight. Who do you think the favorite is here?
I think the favorite is Macy Barber.
Yeah, but this is the part that I can't get behind. She's minus 275.
So she's a huge favorite.
Massive favorite against Andrea Lee, who's seen it all. Who's fought literally the who's who of the division. She's fought everybody. And Macy Barber, when push comes to shove and she's a big favorite, she's winning greasy decisions or losing them. So minus 275, not in a million years could I get behind that number. I'm taking Andrea Lee as almost an auto bet just because those odds are so ridiculous. Do I think Macy Barber has all the tools to win this fight? Absolutely. Is she the rightful favorite? Probably, but minus 275. That is way too much trust.
That's a little beyond the pale, right? Especially when you look at she had the loss to Roxanne Modafferi.
That we let her, that one she did actually have a really serious injury during that
I
fight.
get it. Then she lost to Alexa Grasso, another tough customer.
Current champion of the world.
Current champion of the world, right? Okay, got
Yep.
it. Then a split decision over Miranda Maverick.
That she lost.
Right.
Remember, we were like, she 100% lost that, and then they gave her the win.
And if you guys forgot, that's Miranda Fear the Maverick, the absolute dumbest fucking name in combat sports.
Yeah.
And
you
then
actually picked her in that fight. You had Miranda Maverick. I had picked Macy Barber.
that doesn't sound like me at all. I can't think of a single moment in my life where I picked Miranda Maverick for anything other than the dumbest name in combat sports.
Well, you just gave me a reason to do YouTube Reels for the first time because I'm going back and I'm finding that clip.
Please let that be the reason. I don't care if it's spite. I don't care if it's downright hate. I've wanted to do YouTube Reels for 6 months.
Sometimes that's what gets the juice flowing.
Ask me how our TikTok is doing.
It's doing good.
Gangbusters. We can't stop people from watching our TikToks. YouTube Reels could be the next big thing. Could be our big break. Helwani's got a fucking basketball show on fucking Showtime.
I didn't write the book on psychology, but that might get the blood going, Zach. Just a little bit of spite in the back, a little bit of spite in hindsight to wake me up in the morning. But you did. Nonetheless, back to the point. You had Miranda Maverick, I had Macy Barber, and I remember coming on the next pod and doing a recap and being like, no, Macy Barber did not win that fight. She lost that fight to Miranda Maverick, and she was a decent-sized favorite, similar to this Andrea Lee line. And Miranda Maverick and Andrea Lee have a very, very similar fight style.
Well, let me just say this. If it's spite that motivates you, I've never picked Miranda Maverick in my life, and anyone who says I did is 110% wrong.
Noted.
Back to the situation at hand.
Noted.
Yeah, I'm suspect on Macy right now. Her last win was over Jessica Ai on Jessica Ai's retirement fight, and I was at that fight in July.
And it wasn't like a super one-sided affair.
No, it really wasn't. It was a fairly competitive fight.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, then you look at Andrea Lee, who's literally fought a who's who also, by the way, has a loss to Roxanne Modafferi. Possibly Roxanne's only decision win in her career. I'm not sure.
Roxanne Modafferi, we got to put a little bit of respect on Roxanne Modafferi's name.
I put all respect on Roxanne Modafferi's name. That is a true pioneer. Everybody likes to think it was Ronda Rousey. It was Roxanne Modafferi who was, I think, the true pioneer of like women's MMA.
The one reason why I say put respect on her name was because she fought literally anybody. She would go into fights as like a plus 800 underdog. Like she signed on the dotted line to fight literally anybody and everybody, and she brought it every time. So
I got nothing at all but love for Roxanne Modafferi. Yeah, she was down to fight morning, noon, and night. She just didn't care.
But no, having a loss to her on your record isn't a great look either.
Not a great look.
It's not.
You know, she's also got a loss to Lauren Murfentime Murphy.
Yeah.
A split decision, but you know, she's got a split decision loss to Joanne Wood.
Split though.
Yeah.
Right? She's in like close fight. Did she fight Vivian Araujo?
Oh my God. She actually has 2 losses to Roxanne Modafferi.
That's worse. Wow.
She has 2. She lost to her once in Invicta.
Wow, that makes it a lot worse now.
So much worse.
Yeah, now you've got me. Now
I'm feeling like Macy's odds might be justified.
Yeah, or actually low.
Yeah.
2 losses, that changes things up. No, I mean,
but you know, this is what's weird, right? So her last fight is a loss to Vivian Araujo. Okay.
Yeah.
She's got 2 losses to Roxanne Modafferi. She also stopped Cynthia Calvillo, submitted Antonia Shevchenko, UD'd over Montana De La Rosa. So it's not like the people she beats are nobodies. I mean, she's beaten some stiff competition, but she's lost some fights where I'm like, how is this the same person's share dog profile that I'm looking at?
But those are the type of people that you kind of don't mind taking a shot on when they're like plus 220 like when they're plus 220 dogs. You're like, oh, well, maybe she could, maybe she couldn't. I can't, I still can't support and get to the odds that Barber has right now. From a pure side of just numbers and value, I would stay away from it. But if I had to pick a winner, I'm definitely going to lean Macy Barber here.
What might make, and this is, and again, this is, I'm going to put the 10-8 disclaimer on this one. Please do not bet your mortgage on what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
But what could make Andrea Lee kind of a live dog is her 5 submission victories. Anybody who's kind of an on again, off again, hot and cold fighter, but has more wins by submission than they do by knockout, is somebody who might catch someone like Macy Barber lacking. Might catch a triangle, might catch an RNC, might snag a leg somewhere. 5 submission victories is the only thing that makes me think Andrea Lee might be a live dog.
Yeah, I could get to it. I really could. Plus 235. I mean, I can get to that number.
Yeah.
The I don't like betting unders in women's MMA really, period. So I don't know if I could get behind the submission. Over 2.5 is minus 260. I think this is going to a decision for sure. I just think it's going to be a close one.
Yeah, completely fair.
That's all.
Alex Perez, Manel Cop.
Yeah, I like Manel Cop here.
Same.
And it's not as much of an endorsement of Manel Cop, but it's more of an indictment, you like that, on Alex Perez. It's
like
more
that.
of a I'm not an Alex Perez guy. Cop has shown little, he's shown waves where it's like, oh shit, this guy was the real deal coming over from one championship. He was a serious guy over there, and he's strung together some decent wins. Who do you think the favorite is in this one?
He did not come from one, by the way. He came from Ryzen.
Oh, that's what I meant. Same thing. Very similar.
The other Asian MMA promotion in our lives.
They morph together a little bit.
Sure. One, I think, is based out of Japan, one out of Singapore. Very different places, but I digress.
Wait, which one's based out of Japan?
Ryzen.
Ryzen is, and then one is based out of Singapore?
Right.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
That does make sense now. Because I know Chatri is from Singapore.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Muay Thai fighters, etc. at all.
I like that. I do too. He's minus 170. He's not a huge favorite. The only thing that scares me a little bit is Alex Perez does like to wrestle. He does like to mix in the wrestling, and I know Cop's not a huge ground guy. His sweet spot is on the feet and kind of just trading shots over the course of 3 rounds. I do like Cop here, though. I do.
I do too. This is another one though. I don't know that I'd be surprised whichever way it went. I like Manel Cop here. In Manel Cop's higher moments, I've been fairly high on him. That hasn't quite panned out. So I don't know that I would really feel strongly about it. Especially when Alex Perez has a leg kick TKO over Jussier Formiga, a triangle of Jordan Espinosa.
Who was Perez's last fight?
Perez's last fight was against Alexandre Pantoja, which he lost via neck crank.
Yeah, I like Cop here.
I do too. And then before that, Davis and Figueiredo, which
he got knocked out.
Yes, he got submitted, guillotine.
Okay.
But unless your name is, Baby Assassin, Davison was going to be a rough night for you regardless. So,
yeah, no, without a doubt.
Yeah, I like Cop here. I don't know what much else to say about this one. It should be a good fight.
Yeah, I think Cop's ceiling is higher than Perez's as well. Like, I think if Perez wins this fight, he's not going to do much with it. But if Cop wins it, there's a little bit more wiggle room at the top for him. I do think his ceiling is like a little bit higher. He would be a better challenge for Pantoja. and Moreno than Perez was.
Yeah.
That's really all I can say about it. Perez might be a difficult matchup though with the wrestling. Keep that in mind, but I feel the same way that you do, where I'm not sold at all. You know, I'm not
Not
sold. Not sold.
Well, after that, hold on to your hats. My boy, Chitty Bang Bang, Chitty Njokuani is taking on Albert Duraev.
Somebody's going night night.
Someone's going night night.
Yeah, over 1.5 minus 115. Vegas thinks it's done inside 1.5. Who do you think the favorite is here?
I got to tell you, I like Chitty Bang Bang here.
Chitty Bang Bang is the favorite. Minus
I like
160,
it.
minus 165. He's got the same exact odds as Cheeto Vera does, or sorry, Corey Sandhagen does in the Cheeto Vera fight. Albert Duraev, Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series guy, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct.
Decent knockout power. These guys both like to get it done, and they like to get it done fast.
Yeah.
Usually, the longer the fight goes, the worse for them. Chitty just had like a fight of the year with Gregory Rodriguez.
Yeah.
That was
he got knocked out in the second, but
yeah. But they were both they were trading Bambi legs back and forth. It was a great fight. Gregory Rodriguez had that gash in his skull
and
where you
brain
could see,
exposed.
yeah, where you could literally see his brain. Damn, that's a sick fight. That's a banger.
That is a banger. And I mean, I'm leaning Chitty Bang Bang. I feel good about that lean. I mean, he's before losing to Gregory Rodriguez in what was just an absolute unprecedented warfare. It was total war. A knockout over Dusko Tudorovic, a knockout over Marc-Andre Barrio, a knockout over Mario De Souza. So,
who was Duraev's last fight?
Duraev's last fight was, I'll tell you right now, it was a loss to Joaquin Buckley via TKO.
Duraev lost to Buckley?
Sure did. June of 2022.
Yeah, I like Chitty Bang Bang here.
That's exactly what my lean was when I saw the loss to Buckley. He's got a decision win over Roman Kopylov. Then he beat Hayo Bittencourt in the Contender Series.
Kopylov's a good dub.
It's a good dub.
Kopylov's a good dub.
It was a UD. If it was a knockout, I'd feel better about it. But the strength of resumes got me leaning Chitty Bang Bang pretty heavily.
Yeah, the like you said, the Buckley thing is a red flag. Kind of a red light goes off when you lose to Buckley because Chitty's like a longer, a little bit sharper version. They both like to stand on the feet. Chitty's just so clean and he hits so hard.
So goddamn hard. I mean, everybody listening knows I'm a Chitty Bang Bang stan. So
yeah, no, his fights are definitely worth the price of admission alone. I'm gonna go Chitty Bang Bang too here.
Yeah, fair enough. What other fights on this card you want to talk about?
Let me see as I scroll down the line. There's not a ton. There really isn't a ton. We have Steven Peterson. How is he still in the UFC? Trevin Giles, Preston Parsons. There's not. What's up?
Trevin Giles. That's we're getting to the bottom of the card here, huh?
Yeah, dude. I mean, Daniel Pineda, Tucker Lutz. I don't know. There's not much to say. I'm surprised this isn't Tejas.
Yeah, this is San Antonio, right?
Yeah, this is in the AT&T Center. Damn. It's a little lackluster card. Solid main event. The main event's great. The main card's actually pretty good. But when we start getting that prelim territory, it's a little I don't know.
You know what this is, and I'll tell you what this is, right? Because we're coming off the heels of a pay-per-view here. What was a banger of a pay-per-view, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is you go to the bar and you bring home a 10 from the bar, right? And that's Usman, right? That's that card. You bring home a 10.
Yeah.
So now you're your lucky spot. You go back to the bar the next week. You bring home a 5. That's what this card is. It still counts.
Yeah. Yeah.
At home, I got lucky.
Yeah, no, it's still another person to interact with, but like the quality's a little bit lower.
The quality's just a little bit lower.
Yeah, I can get there. It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper.
A lot cheaper.
A lot
You
cheaper.
know,
And
it's
sometimes,
like I've always said, the odds are good, but the goods are odd.
yeah,
If you
I
like
like
that one, you take it home with you. That's a 10-8 trademark right there.
I like that. I'm stealing that.
Take it. You don't have to steal. You can't steal what's been given.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely going to be pulled out a couple times this week. What's
So the news.
the news? What do we got in the news?
Well, we've talked about the current drama at 170, right? We kind of went through that. I like to, you and I, as the professionals that we are, we keep each other abreast of MMA news throughout the day. That's
Yes.
kind of how we communicate with each other. They're looking at Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez is being targeted for fight week.
Yeah, I actually think people are sleeping on that fight.
That's got banger potential.
People are sleeping on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Other than news, you ignored a hilarious Harry Potter meme I sent earlier.
Really?
It is what it is. I get it. You're a busy guy. I'm a busy guy. I'm sending vacation funnies. It's okay. Um, I think the only news then that we haven't spoken about that's kind of in the MMA sphere right now, and I hesitate to even bring it up. I guess the sport of mixed martial arts has its first out male fighter. Kind of an unfortunate way that it happened, but Jeff Molina was outed, and he is now out as a bi guy. It is news.
I guess. I mean,
All of this.
if it should it be news, I don't know. I get it. I get it, but at the same time, stay out of the guy's fucking personal life. I feel like to a degree. Apparently, it was an unsavory leak that kind of came to a head. He didn't want it to go about that way. I mean, who cares? Jeff Molina's a dog. I'm gonna watch him regardless when he steps in the ring. He's a savage. He's a little killer. I know there's a lot of adversity right now that he's facing, kind of with the whole James Krause thing. He was one of the fighters under his banner. So I don't know what happened. Somebody leaking a video, that type of shit. But I feel for the guy a little bit.
I completely feel for the guy, and I think it's better news or it's good news if Jeff Molina has the chance to come out and be like, hey, I'm an MMA fighter, and that kind of is what it is, right? And it would have been, at least to my knowledge, it would have been the first guy to come out and say that. Obviously, there have been gay women in MMA. A few of them are married to each other. But I don't know of a guy who's come out. So if that was it, okay. You say, hey, look, someone was going to be the first. Jeff Molina had the balls to step up and say, I'm the first. It is what it is.
I don't know if it went like that, though. Because
that's my point. It didn't go like that. And that's what kind of makes this a fucking shame. And that's why I hesitate to bring it up. That's my hesitation, that, Jeff kind of got robbed of that opportunity because somebody, stole a video that he had having an encounter with someone else, and kind of a fucking shame. But
Jordan Levitt got robbed of that opportunity. No, I'm just kidding. But
not saying anything. I'm just going to smile at the camera.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, you want to do it on your own accord, and then make something more out of it. I didn't care to look at the video or even see the video, but
thank you
good for Jeff Molina. Like, good for Jeff Molina. Like, I don't know really what to say. I don't really have an opinion on it.
Yeah, I guess
I'm here to watch guys fight and figure out who's going to fight for the best value. I don't know. What's your take on it?
Well, look,
I think we heard your take, but like, do you care? Does it change anything for you going forward?
Well, no, it doesn't change a thing because Jeff Molina, I think, is still under investigation for possibly fight fixing.
But if he wasn't, would you
If he
tune
wasn't,
in?
no, it doesn't, but I mean, hell, we spent 5 minutes when McGregor posted a video of him getting a blowjob on a yacht, and I figured Molina deserved his 5 minutes too. At the end of the day, the tapestry of people who make up the roster of the UFC is rich, and it is filled with characters, both good and bad. And the news here really isn't that Jeff Molina came out as bi. The news here is that whoever leaked that video kind of fucking sucks. But at the end of the day,
Facts.
being that we are guys who have dedicated a large portion of our lives to the world of mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts has its first guy to come out, so it is, regardless of anything else, that is a first. It happened. It happened in a real shitty way. I think your takeaway was kind of the best, right? Molina's a fucking dog, and I'm gonna watch that dude fight 7 days a week. But the news is, unfortunately, that Molina had this video leaked, and that kind of fucking happened.
Yeah.
And there we are.
Yeah, no, it's a tough situation. There's a lot of moving parts there. With the whole James Krause thing and stuff too, because he kind of fell out of the limelight for a while, and this kind of brought him back in. So it's like a weird situation for him. But hope he gets hope he gets it all sorted out.
If anyone wants hot takes about the Jeff Molina situation, I'd recommend they check Sean Strickland's Twitter account.
Oh God.
And then that's it. If you want hot takes about Jeff Molina, because ours is a fairly bland take, which is good for Jeff, and I wish only bad things on the person who leaked it. I think that's a 10-8 endorsed takeaway.
Facts. I preach.
If you're looking for hot takes, check Sean Strickland's Twitter and do it at your own peril. That's your business.
There you go.
Any other news this week, John Boy?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, we had a little hiatus. We're back. We're not going anywhere, not till we reach the tippy top.
Nope.
I say, look, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving the 10-8 podcast until you and I have a studio that looks like Helwani's fucking studio.
Dude.
Because I'm going to tell you, I've listened to Helwani's interviews, and I've listened to us interview Sandy Bang Bang Chang, Timmy Green, and Mike Wilcox. I'll listen to the 10-8 boys any day. I'll Pepsi challenge with Helwani's interviews any day. So until we got a studio that looks like that, looks like a playroom for an MMA fan, until we have that, the 10-8 ain't going fucking nowhere.
Let's get it. Let's get after it. I'm ready to run through the wall right now.
Yeah, I know. I got you hyped up at the end. I should have done that at the beginning. That's on me. Tip of the week. I'm going to recommend my personal favorite from childhood. This is Zach's tip of the week. I'm going to recommend Fist of the North Star, a 1985 anime classic.
Wow.
The namesake of the gym that I train at in Philadelphia. So shout out to Jackson Galka and North Star MMA. But I remember watching Fist of the North Star on VHS as a child. If you're a fight fan who likes all of the culture surrounding fights, if you're worried you're going to be in an elevator with Izzy Adesanya and not have something to talk about one day, I would recommend Fist of the North Star, 1985, seminal classic. There's a lot of other North Star stuff that came out of it. Start with the good stuff. We can branch out from there. If you need more recs on that, hit your boy up. Other than that, I think that fireplace is calling my name, John Boy. So I think there's only one thing left to do. Even if you're on vacation, motherfucker, call your mother. Tell her you love her, because we out.
Peace.